Today in the Kimmery household, a crime took place that is far worse than any other. Something so foul and wrong that I had to hire a crime investigating team to come search the house of DNA in order to find and charge the culprit. What's the crime, you may ask? Someone took my Chipotle leftovers out of the fridge while I was not there. The suspects that were in the Kimmery house on the night of the crime were my dad, brother Blaine, sister Amber, and the family pet pig Pixie. Luckily, my mom was out at dinner that night, so she is not a suspect in this crime. There was also a witness present at the crime scene, a UPS driver coming to deliver hand sanitizer to the family's house. The witness explains he saw a figure in the house eating the Chipotle, but it was around dusk, so he couldn't make out who the suspect could be. He also stated that this is a crime like no other in which he could have done more to help. At the crime scene, police found this empty Chipotle bowl with the used plastic fork still inside. Because of this, it was pretty easy for them to take this DNA from the fork and compare it to samples of the suspects. Samples were collected at the scene and amplified for two different VNTR loci and ran on separate gels to create DNA fingerprints shown here. These samples were then compared to each of the suspects' DNA and the witness's DNA to solve who committed the crime. Looking at the first VNTR locus, we can see that both Blaine and Pixie's matches the banding pattern for the sample exactly. We can exclude the witness, Dad, and Amber from being the source of the sample DNA because their patterns do not match it exactly. For a DNA match to occur, the sample must be a match on both loci of the fork DNA. Next, we move on to VNTR locus 2 to determine who the criminal is. Looking at this, we can see that only Blaine and Amber's DNA match up perfectly to the fork DNA being tested. The witness, Dad, and Pixie can be excluded from leaving the sample because, again, even if one of their patterns match, they both have to match for them to be considered. From this, we can see that Blaine's DNA is a consistent match with the fork's DNA on both loci. Therefore, we have found the culprit of this crime. Looking at one more aspect of these VNTR loci, we can tell that Dad is actually the dad of Blaine and Amber by looking at these DNA fingerprints. When looking at biological aspects of DNA fingerprints, a child must receive one allele from the father and one from their mother. Looking at locus 1, we can see that Blaine and Amber have a band that is consistent with their dads. This is also true for locus 2.